Hey, Zack here, and in today's episode of attempting to learn every single AC/DC song on guitar, we're taking a look at the song Stick Around. And this is track number 4 off of the original High Voltage album. And it's a bit of a deep cut because it wasn't even officially released internationally until 2009's Backtracks box set. So it's a really fun song, just a couple of cool riffs and lots of tasty solos. So let's dive in. Alrighty, so like most of these old AC/DC songs, we are tuned slightly down. I believe here on this song, we're just down to 436, so just down 4 cents. At least that's the closest I could figure out on my tuner here. So just 4 cents down from A440. All right, so the intro and verse riff, pretty simple. It's just the open A and D power chords played on the and of 4 and the downbeat. So it's so really fun little riff to play there. And of course, oh man, this riff just reminds me so much of and of course that's All Right Now by Free. So I'm sure Angus and Malcolm were at least a little influenced by that band. But that is the gist of the verse riff. All right, so now going on into the intro solo. And the intro solo and really most of the lead parts on this song kind of have a more happy, kind of major kind of tinge to it. And I really think that is due to the major third, or at least the hints of major thirds that are taking place in the lead lines. So right here off the bat, Angus comes in with this bend, I believe, from the 12th fret B string almost up to a C sharp. So I think it's like, it's maybe like a 3/4 step bend, which can kind of sometimes be hard to nail without actually having a reference. But if we know that on this A chord, on this A harmony, that the C sharp is the major third and the C natural is the minor third, he's bending up kind of somewhere in between. And your home base there is this A note, B string, 10th fret. All right, so cool little way to kind of introduce the solo here. And the next lick comes up to the D note here on the 15th fret of the B string, and he's basically bending up a whole step and coming down a half step and kind of going in between. All right, so once you kind of hit that kind of whole and half step bend a couple times, you'll pull and release off to your home base of the C note on the 13th fret. And then you're going to hit that bend and release one more time and resolve to the A note on the G string there. Now here we're really playing off a major third. We're sliding up to the F sharp note on the G string, 11th fret, hitting that A note 2 times on the B string, and we're sliding from that F sharp down to the E. All right, and so over a D harmony, that just outlines a major triad. And then coming down to that E, which is like the 9th, so little sweet kind of transition lick there. And then to wrap up, we've got a flurry in the A minor pentatonic. Something like that. So it starts off with a whole step bend here on the 8th fret B string. All right, just hitting that root. Catching that high root on the high E string, and then coming down 8, 7, 6, pivoting from this D note to this E note, and then bending that D note up to the E. Holding for that vibrato, and then sliding out. Something along those lines. So that is the intro guitar solo. All right, so this pre-chorus riff is a really fun one. So we're going to be utilizing this classic AC/DC move of basically pivoting between some of our open power chords and the low G and C notes on the 3rd fret of the E and A strings. So the rhythm can be a little tricky when you first get into it, but when you nail the groove, it feels great. So we're starting on that A power chord. So it kind of follows like the same kind of rhythmic motif for the A to the low G note and the D to the low C note. But now the tag to that particular part of the riff plays the C note one more time, and then it goes back into that original A power chord to restart the whole riff. So in its totality, and then the tail end of that riff just hangs on to the A and low G note there. All right, so now we're getting into the chorus. So the chorus starts with this big, proud D power chord, and then up to a G, and I'm just kind of hitting an upstroke and really just playing the top strings, not necessarily playing the full. And then the resolution, so to speak, is a little bit of a blues shuffle idea in A. All right, so again, that's, and again, we're just pivoting off that 2nd and 4th fret on the D string to give us that 5 to 6 blues shuffle that we all know and love. So again, the chorus. ending on just a A power chord, and Angus comes in with the next solo. All right, so the second solo starts with kind of that same move, that bend up to almost the major third. And again, landing on that A. Angus really hangs on to it and lets it ring out. All right, and again, much like the intro solo, we're gonna move up to the D note, and we're going to hit 2 whole step bends. And we're going to come down the scale. So that's going to be 12 and 15 on the high A string. Little pull off there. Then D to that C note, and landing on the A. And much like the intro solo, we're going to hit that F sharp to E, and I'm going to play that up here on the D string, just so that I'm kind of inching my way up closer to our high A minor pentatonic position way up here. So that's going to start with 2 whole step bends up to that high A root. So really, if you didn't want to necessarily bend up to those notes, you could come way up here to your highest fret. What is that, 22? And you can kind of get the sound and the feel for that whole step to half step bend. All right, and then we're going to jump up to the high E string. So really make sure that you kind of hit this roll. And then we're going to come down with just a little extra note. Again, we're going to hit this major 6 on our way down. And we're actually going to pull off on it twice. All right, and then we're going to hit a whole step bend here on the G string up to that high E note. All right, and doing our classic kind of double stop-ish Angus bend. Bending and releasing down to hit that C note to cap off the lick and to cap off the solo. All right, so the main guitar solo happens after the second chorus, after the verse riff is played a couple times, just to kind of build a little anticipation. And then Angus comes in with a whole step bend on the 15th fret, bending from that D note to that E note. So bending up, releasing, back down to the C, back to the D, and hitting that A to kind of resolve there. And the answer to that lick is that D major line that we've seen before. And then here, Malcolm starts to play an E, kind of of building up into a D. And Angus, in turn, plays, obviously, an E minor pentatonic lick and a D minor-ish lick. So over that E, Angus plays something like this. So again, quite a flurry of notes there, but obviously it starts with that whole step bend. And we're pivoting off that 14th fret there, that C sharp note, which gives us that major 6 sound. And really there, I'm just kind of playing down. Kind of just playing down the scale, and really what I think matters most in that particular lick is those last couple notes. That 12th fret G, little bend, and of course resolving with that E to D back to E note. All right, and then for the D part, we're coming up to this D minor pentatonic shape here at the 10th fret, playing a whole step bend up to the root from the C to the D note here on the B string. Kind of a classic move that Angus does a lot of times, playing that whole step, bend, and then coming down a fret, so going from the 13th bend to a 12 bend, kind of like just a quarter bend, and then of course resolving down to your home bass, which is kind of this A note here. All right, something like that. And then, of course, the band kind of drops out, and they're really just playing the A and the D on the downbeats for this breakdown where Bon Scott belts out this long, wild note, and Angus matches it. And that note just so happens to be a G. So you can kind of play that G note just here on the high E string, 15th fret, or you can bend here on the B string. All right, so you're just going to hold that for a couple bars while Bon belts it out, and then we get into the second part of the solo. All right, so after that wild scream breakdown, the rhythm goes back to the standard A and D rhythm part, and Angus comes in with this pretty cool call and response pair of licks here. All right, so again, we're just kind of playing off this D note here on the B string with that whole step bend. C to D. Hitting that A, and then that little tail with the C note. And then the kind of answer to that is... All right, so again, playing off this 15th position. We're kind of doing like a little harmonic matching with that bend from the D note up to the E, and then catching that E on the 12th fret high E string. And again, just walking back down to the scale, back down to the A. All right, and to cap off the solo, Angus comes way up to our 17th position, A minor pentatonic box. And it's kind of hard to hear what's going on in the fast flurry of notes, But it starts off with this whole step bend up to the A note here on the B string. All right, that bend, release, bend. And I'm playing a pull-off on the high E string. Something like that, with that high E pull-off, and then that roll. And of course, ending on that whole step bend. Something along those lines. So again, that wraps up the main solo part. So we have one more verse, and in the final chorus, Angus comes in with some licks during the A blues shuffle part, again on each of those chorus riffs. So this first lick goes like this. We're down here in our home bass A minor pentatonic. All right, so that starts off with a whole step bend on the G string. And again, walking down the scale after hitting that E on the 5th fret. Again, that kind of pivot. And then once we kind of land on this C note, we're going to jump up to a bend on the B string up to the root. All right, so that's the first lick. And the second outro chorus lick is decidedly major sounding. So we're going to slide up to the major 6th, or this F sharp note, on the 11th fret, and hit our home bass A there on the 10th fret. Whole step bend there up to the major 3rd on the B string, catching that high E. And then we're going to hit this pull-off idea, 13, 12, 10, minor 3rd 2 to the 1. And then we're basically going to hint at that idea again with a little bend and pull-off on the 12th fret back to the 10th. All right? All right, so pretty cool way to kind of tag that lick there. And that does it for lick 2. All right, and this third chorus lick, we're coming way back up to the high minor pentatonic box. We're going to hit a double stop bend on the G and B strings. All right, again, that classic double stop bend, where we're taking that G string up a whole step-ish while we're keeping that B string note static there. So we're gonna do that bend a couple times and then kind of land on that D note. And then we're gonna pull off down to the root. And then we're gonna cap it with, as you could probably guess, a whole step bend up to the root. All right, and it kind of follows that same pattern that we had down here, where we're jumping from that C note to the whole step bend. Same thing up here. All right, and the last time through that chorus riff, when the band plays the A power chord, Angus is going to play a trill or hammer-on and pull-off part here on the G string, 2nd fret, to the open string. And then he's going to work his way up until we get up to the 12th fret or the octave, and he just lets that ring out. And to close the song, Angus plays quite possibly the longest pick scrape in recorded rock history. I am not good at pick slides, but the idea here is you want to kind of give enough kind of turbulence into the string to keep it vibrating as you crank all the way down the fretboard, and then it ends with that open E. So we'll see how this goes. And the song ends, I think, with the tape being sped up to where that E goes way up in pitch, and then the song cuts out. And that does it for AC/DC's Stick Around. A super fun song, and one that, if you just tune down a little bit, is really, really fun to play along with. With that, we're going to continue our exploration of AC/DC's discography with our next track on the High Voltage album, Soul Stripper. We'll see you there.